Goaltending. And we're looking at goaltenders. I wanted to look at the Capitals next. So, yeah, I know this is really kind of all over the place, isn't it? I love doing this, though. This is honestly a lot of fun. And it's one of those things that is distinctly something that I would think is a lot of fun, which is looking over goaltenders over an entire length of a franchise's existence because it's fun. I don't know. So again, the rules are simple. A goaltender has to have played 20 or more games in a season. I only make exceptions if it was a lockout shortened season, and I can project that guy would have had 20 games, because again, I'm trying to look and go, okay, this is where your stability is. And with the Capitals, it's interesting because the Capitals aren't a team that was very stable at the beginning. At the beginning, you had Lowe and Belhumer. Belhumer didn't get a win that year. Played 20 games, didn't get a single win. Ron Lowe got all of them, but I'm sure Lowe didn't feel spoiled with those wins. What we got out of that season really was Ron Lowe had a fantastic mask. Go look it up. 75-76, Lowe and Wolf, which might be a great name for a law firm. And Lowe and Wolf were your goaltenders again in 76-77. 77-78, Bedard Wolf is your goaltending tandem. 78-79, it's Innes and Bedard. And then 79-80, Wayne Stevenson plays 56 games. He's the only goaltender to play more than 20 that year. So Stevenson, after years of being on a winning team in Philly, gets to go to Washington. 80-81, Paul Matier and Stevenson are your goaltending tandem. And things start getting more respectable for the Capitals in around this area. 81-82, Parrot and Jensen. And I remember Al Jensen. I liked Al Jensen. 82-83, he's your starter. Pat Regan's the backup. Pat Regan was a guy that I got into when he was a Flame before this. 83-84, it's Jensen and Regan. 84-85, Pat Regan. 57 games played. So when I talk about how I evolved as a hockey fan and started liking or disliking certain teams, Pat Regan, having been one of my favorite goalies when he played for Calgary and then moving on to Washington, meant I followed him to Washington and I started cheering for him there. 85-86, it's Jensen and Peters. So this is Pete Peters. 86-87, it's Mason and Peters. And of course, it's Mason that's in net for the heartbreaking many overtime game loss against the New York Islanders in that year's playoffs. 87-88, Malarchuk comes in as a starter with Peters as the backup. 88-89, it's still Malarchuk and Peters. 89-90, Don Beaupre plays 48 games, and there's a bunch of goalies that play 17 or less that year. So it was goaltending by committee in the 89-90 season. 90-91, Beaupre and Mike Liut. Liut, after stays with the Whalers and the Blues, ends up being a Capital. 91-92, it's Beaupre and Liut again. 92-93, it's Don Beaupre and Jim Rivnak. Now, the thing with Beaupre, too, is, of course, as a North Stars fan, I'm cheering on Beaupre when he goes there. So this is kind of why I became I'm going to be a booster for the Caps. 93-94, Beaupre and Tabarachi. Just a little side note, that Lady Gaga song Paparazzi, I used to sing a version of that, and I just substitute Tabarachi in for Paparazzi. Lame. 94-95, and totally unnecessary. It won't be on the exam at the end of the series. 94-95, Jim Carrey and Olie Kolzig. First time Kolzig's on the board. Jim Carrey, the net detective. 95-96, Jim Carrey plays 71 games that year. Jim Carrey's remembered as a guy who was a flash in the pan, right? But he played more seasons than your typical flash in the pan. 96-97, it's Carey and Kolzig again. 97-88, it's Kolzig and Ranford. So I seem to remember Boston picking up Jim Carrey. It didn't work out. And Ranford going to Washington. 98-99, it's Kolzig and Tabarachi. So there's 5 years in between Tabarachi appearing on this board. 99-2000, Kolzig says, I've got it. I'll do it. And for the next 5 years, Olie the goalie is Washington goaltending. 73 games played in 99-2000, 72 games played in 2000-2001, 71 games played in 01-02, 66 games played in 02-03, and 63 games played in 03-04. And he never complains. 05-06, so after the lockout, it's Kolzig and Brent Johnson. 06-07, it's Kolzig and Brent Johnson. 07-08, Kolzig's the only goaltender to get more than 20 games in, plays 54 that year. 08-09, Kolzig's out, Theodore comes in, he and Brent Johnson are your goaltending tandem. 2009-2010, Theodore and Varlamov. So there's your future Colorado starter. 2010, 2011, Neuwirth and Varlamov. 2011, 2012. Remember when Thomas Vokoun went to the Capitals? A lot of people won't. Vokoun and Neuwirth. 2012, 2013, Holtby and Neuwirth. And then Holtby kind of says, I've got it for the next 2 years. Plays 48 games in 2013-14. And then has 73 games played in 2014-15. 13-14, again, you've got a number of goaltenders in there. He's the only one that plays 20-plus games. 2015-16, it's Holtby and Grubauer. And that's been the tandem for the last couple of years past that as well. And that's going to change this year, because Grubauer is out. And, I've talked about it, how I've bumped down where I would rank their tandem, because with Grubauer leaving, and we don't know if it's going to be Samsonov or Copley or what's going to happen. But if Grubauer was still backing up Holtby, I would definitely have had them in the top 10. But anyways, for tandems, Holtby and Grubauer are the only tandem that really lasts for any period of time. You've got some that last for 2 years, but Holtby and Grubauer at 3 years, that's about as long as it gets for Washington. Washington has gone through, it seems like, a ton of goaltenders, but for goaltenders who actually play 20-plus games in a season, it's only been 27 guys. And since 2008. 8, because Kolzig, it didn't matter who his backup was. Didn't really matter. You weren't playing. It's like, oh, you're Olie's backup. Well, here's your equipment. You don't really need to put it on. Go ahead, put it on. Just whatever. Olie, the goalie's a guy who... Do I think he ever makes the Hall? Probably not. Does he belong there? Probably not. I don't know. There's a lot of guys you could argue belong there or don't belong there. But he is one of the greats in an organization that really, in its first... right up until about here, it's kind of a sad tale that they tell. And then it starts to turn around. And they had some pretty good teams in the 80s. They had some pretty good teams in the late 90s. And they've had some pretty good teams lately, and they won themselves a Stanley Cup. So the Capitals are one of those teams I wanted to look at, because it felt like they've gone through a lot of goaltenders, and they've been quite the goaltending factory. But in reality, they have stuck with a starter. So when you look at it, Kolzig had 12 years of 20 or more games. Holtby's had 6. He'll have 7 after this year. Jensen, 4. Jim Carrey had 3. Beaupre, 4. Peters, 4. Oh, Beaupre had 5. Yeah, Beaupre had 5. I don't know why I got him on there twice. It was Beaupre had 5. So there you go. 27 goalies overall. 8 since 2000. And... again, when you look at the guys who've been their top goaltenders, they're usually guys that I cheer for, like Kolzig, Jensen, Beaupre, Peters. And I was never a huge fan of Jim Carrey. I always thought that it was a weird story, and I didn't think it was going to last for very long, but I didn't really have a problem with him. The playoffs were a problem with Jim Carrey, but we'll get to that when the history videos catch up with this. But there you go. The last 43 seasons, somewhere in that region for the Washington Capitals. All the goaltenders that have played 20 or more games, all on this board. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.